And welcome back to Livingston Parish News Weekly Show. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us today. We do have a special guest, one of 10 running for 5 seats in the town of Livingston. Tight Board of Aldermen race there, Mr. Robert Stewart. Thank you for joining us today. How are you?
Doing pretty well. How are you?
Good. Thanks for asking. So we want to get to know you just a little bit before we kind of get into the nitty gritty questions. So tell us a little bit about where you live, where you went to school, where you work, and a little bit about your family.
Yeah, no doubt. My name's Robert Stewart. Graduated Dole High School in the class of 2001. I have a 2-year-old son, Brady. And also we live in the town with my girlfriend, Anita, and her daughter. She's 13-year-old daughter. She'll actually be 14 Friday, so her birthday is coming up. But yeah, we've been right there in town. We enjoy it. We love the atmosphere. We love the closeness of everybody in the community, and it's awesome to be there.
Tell us a little bit about what you do for a living.
So what I do for a living, I run the business development for U.S. and Canada for a major oil company right now.
Okay.
And in the past, I used to I was the general manager for 6 sites in U.S. and Canada as well. So I have a little bit of operation experience, but the last 3 years I've been doing business development and kind of, developing the businesses that we have coming on.
I gotcha. Okay. So it is a packed race, 10 running for 5.
Right.
Tell us why you decided to go sign up.
Well, the biggest reason why I decided to go was because of my son. I see the growth in the community. I see how things are changing. I see how the growth is coming to the town. It's a wonderful town. I was raised there, went to school there. All my friends, all my family are there, so I kind of want to get more involved with how things are operating and how things are working. And it was just very passionate for me to kind of get involved and say, here's where I want to get. Here's what I want to do with running for the alderman and stuff.
If you could remember exactly what happened when was there an event or was there some kind of just you were reading something and you decided I want to run for the board? Was there a moment? Or maybe a series of moments that you can describe that made you decide, I'm going to jump in that race?
Yeah, it was, so actually, a lot of people don't know this, but I actually ran the last term. So there was a special election held, and I ran that. But that was, wasn't actually one thing. It was more of a series of events. I mean, I just wanted to get more involved. And then the last year when the election came out, the special election came out for the alderman race, I put my name in the hat. And wanted to get my name out there. I wanted to try to get more involved. And then when this election came around, or this qualifying came around, I just said, hey, you know what? I still want to get involved. I'm still passionate about what the town's doing. I want to get more involved with what the town is going to be doing. And that's kind of what I'll put my name in that.
So, real quick, just want to hear, you said you ran for a special election. What was it like with this race? There was a lot of buildup to this race. A lot of people knew there was going to be a lot of people. What was it like to go qualify, go sign your name in the clerk's office, and then walk out and say, okay, I'm going to do this?
So the morning, I was very excited. I'd done it last year, so I was definitely excited last year. I know it was a 1-against-1 type thing last year. And the guy that has won out, very phenomenal guy, right? And if you look at the board, if you look at who's on the board right now, you have a really solid board, I think. And I think you have 10 passionate people that want to get involved. And that says a lot about our town right now, in my opinion, right? But the morning of qualifying, it was exciting for me. I woke up early. I was there 8 a.m. Now there was a line. There was a big line to qualify. There was a lot of people there, but it was exciting times, and I came out very, very enthused and wanting to get more involved. And matter of fact, just the energy coming out of the courthouse was very phenomenal.
So, when you're talking about your experience with business development, facility management, that kind of thing, what has your experience been with boards, whether that be municipal, within the business, really just trying to deal, sometimes you have to make a decision, but you also have to make a decision with several other people. So there's a little bit of consensus that has to be had. So tell us a little bit about your personal experience in that realm.
So I got a little bit of experience between both sides. If you look at a board of directors on the private side, a lot of things you got to get approved from the board of directors, right? Where the operations or the facility management may need to be. But then also on permitting side. So whenever we do things with our corporations, our manufacturing sites, our warehousing sites, you deal with the permitting, the operating permitting, and maybe the water permits that you got to get approved through the parish board. So I do have a little bit of experience working with them, and actually working with also the board of the directors for privately held company as well.
So, excuse me, I had to clear my throat there.
No worries.
You've had experience building a consensus. You want to run for this job. You've had that feeling. You live there. What's your vision? What are you looking at when you look at the town of Livingston? You look at the potential to be on the board, working with other people, may not necessarily be like-minded on all things, but definitely are looking at the growth of the town of Livingston. What's your vision? What do you see moving forward?
So I do know there's some growth coming, right? And how we manage that growth, I think, is going to be very crucial with how things come on board with our town. Because our town, it's the parish seat, right? It's there's a lot of things there. There's a lot of infrastructure there from far as parish buildings, so there's a lot of things there. But from my perspective, I'd like to kind of get more involved on the how things operate. If you had to look at one thing, that may be my one of my biggest gaps, I guess, because I'm coming from a private sector, right? But I want to get more involved from a public aspect, and I want to ask questions. I want to learn more. I want to get more involved with everybody. Hey, how do you operate? How do you do things? And we could take that we have with our lean manufacturing, Six Sigma type of thing, of how we become more efficient. And you can apply that to the public side of things. And that's where I kind of think I have a strength as well, is becoming more efficient from taking what I've learned in the private world versus going to the public side of things.
So when you're thinking about getting involved from that standpoint, we've talked to a couple other people running for the board. From your standpoint, you want to learn about ops. From a board standpoint, how do you think that puts you in a position to be a good team player? So when you're somebody else, for instance, mentioned, it was actually Zach Thomason said, he could be kind of a keystone, somebody working to help the board move through decisions. From an operations standpoint, what do you think you bring to a board and saying I can be the guy who's going to be on the board that knows how to ask the questions about how we operate? How do you feel about having that relationship with 4 other people and trying to be a guiding light in that realm?
So I think it's a good mindset to have, right? So you go in with the open-mindedness, I guess, of, hey, there's 5 of us on the board that we need to make the best decision. That's what's right for the town coming up, right? Whatever that decision may be. But how I would present that, I'm a visual type of person, so I like to see things from a visual perspective. So if there's things that come up, I would try to present that from a visual perspective to the board. But looking at the board, I mean, it's you got 5 really good people on there now, and you're going to have 5 really good people on there after November 3rd. It's how we crisscross and use our strengths with each one of us to say what's the best decision going forward for the town.
Let's kind of take a segue for a second, because you talked about you're a visual person.
Yep.
So that's one of the questions, that we've asked is, what is sort of your legislative style? You're going to have your own ideas. How are you going to sell them?
Yeah. So my biggest thing is, a plan's not a plan unless you communicate it, right? I could have all the ideas in the world, and they may be the best ideas ever, or someone else may have all the ideas with the best ideas ever. If it doesn't get communicated, no one else knows it. So that's one of the biggest things is communication, right? Planning everything out, visualizing everything, communicating that plan out, because like I said, a plan's not a plan unless you communicate the plan.
Sure. So talking about the plan, what are some things that the town of Livingston right now is doing well, in your opinion? And we're going to start there. We'll talk about some things that you think might need to improve, but what are some things that you believe the town does well right now?
So I think that from my perspective, the family orientation of the mindset of the town is the best thing that I think is a strength to the town. Very tight-knit community. Wonderful families there. All the citizens are just, the family and I, we ride our bikes in the evening and we're strolling around town. We're waving at people. Everybody's talking. Sometimes a 2-3 mile bike hike might take us 2 hours or 3 hours to get home because you're stopping, you're going to have some coffee, you're talking to someone on the street. It's just, it's very, very tight knit group. And I think that's what the town of Livingston does well, in my opinion, is just the family mindset that they have.
So talking about those bike rides, I imagine you're working some campaigning into that. What, before, that's one of the things you do well, but I want to talk about the campaign experience real quick before we get into maybe some things that you'd want to change, because I think something about campaigning might affect that answer. But how has that been? I mean, I know in the world of COVID, things are different, but like you said, you get out on your bike, you see people. What's it been like dealing with that?
Just meeting new people has been very exciting. I enjoy meeting new folks. Sometimes I talk to people at the local place when we're eating lunch or breakfast or whatever it may be, and even walking around the town. Some people may not know me. Hey, you're Robert Stewart. You're running for alderman. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Whatever it may be. And we just have to kind of open up the dialogue of, hey, what are you running for? What's your strengths? And sometimes I get asked what's your weaknesses. But the biggest thing on the campaign trail for me, or the campaign trail, sorry, is meeting new people. I get to meet people, and I get to let them vent sometimes about issues that they may be seeing or hearing in town. And to me, that's kind of exciting, just to kind of meet those folks and get their opinion on different aspects.
What are they venting about? What are some things common threads you hear?
Well, there's a lot of things that different people, and sometimes things are, one side of the story, I guess. So I kind of try to put that to bed as well. But infrastructure is a big thing. When I'm walking or riding a bike or out and grabbing a lunch or an ice cream cone, I go get an ice cream cone a good bit too. So the biggest thing is people talk about infrastructure. How are we handling growth? And then the infrastructure that we have now, how are we managing that infrastructure currently? That's my opinion. That's what I've been getting as well.
So, and from your opinion, I mean, let's ask the question. We've already talked about some things you think that Livingston is doing well. What are some places that you hope, if you're elected to the board, you can be a part of improving?
I think the infrastructure would be the biggest thing, right? I mean, I do know that there's growth coming, but from both sides. You can see it coming from Hammond and coming from the other side of Walker side of area. Things growth is coming. The key thing is how we manage that growth, how we make sure we have the right infrastructure to manage that growth, whether it's the water, the sewer, the utilities, whatever it may be, and even the parks and recreations, right? I mean, they do a great job managing that right now, but I'm sure there's going to be more growth. There's going to be more kids playing ball. How are we going to manage that growth? So the biggest thing that I would like to kind of dabble into if when things happen January 1st is the infrastructure of the town.
So let me throw you a curveball real quick. Since you volunteered it yourself, people are asking you about your strengths and your weaknesses. You're not going to be able to see everybody on the trail. But so let's get it out there. Tell us a little bit about your strengths. You've already talked about being sort of a visual salesperson in terms of legislation. Let's hear it. Let's hear the strengths.
So my strengths, I believe, would be the communication aspect. I like to keep people informed. And also just from managing a budget perspective. I mean, I manage a pretty large budget with the U.S. Canada. So I think some budgeting, some operation experience may help me out on the strength side with the actual town, but also just the compassion. I mean, I want to get more involved. This is something that I enjoy doing. I enjoy going to meet people. I enjoy talking about their concerns and their complaints that they may have and how I could maybe become of assistance.
So here's, I guess, the curveball, or actually that might've been the curveball. Here's the knuckle to see if you'll chase it. What is, I guess you can say, the weaknesses that you consider, some of the things that you feel like you could work on?
So one of the biggest weaknesses that I think I'll face is I've never been in a public official or a public interest, right? Everything I've ever done to my entire career with the oil and gas companies that I work for, I've always been in the private sector. I think things in the private sector work a little bit different than the public. So patience would probably be my biggest weakness because I'm used to things maybe being situated or handled within a few days, and maybe that's not how the public aspect of things work. So I don't know. I'd like to get more involved, but I think from a weakness perspective, my biggest weakness would be from transitioning kind of to the private to the public sector and how things operate. Not necessarily a full transition, but how things operate.
Right, and the Board of Aldermen meets right now once a month, so you have to bounce from meeting to meeting.
You can only do so much, right?
Right, and there are certain rules that regulate what you can do outside of those.
I'm learning those rules as well.
They are important, by the way,
important,
especially to this office where you're sitting. So one of the things that we want to do here is kind of wrap this all up for somebody who's listening. They've kind of heard you go along through your life, the things that you've done. But if somebody's listening to this and they come to you and they say, you are one of 10 people and I got to mark down 5, why should I mark down you with one of my votes? What are you going to say to them?
It's a great question. And the key point is we have 10 very well qualified folks running, right? But in my instance, I think I would like for people to vote for me because this is something that I'm very compassionate doing. I want to get more involved. I want to get more involved with the town. I want to help out in ways that I think that maybe I could help out. Now, like I said, I'm only one person per the board. There's 5 board members, right? And they're all great guys, but it's how we work as a team and how we are able to overcome things that may arise, or issues or concerns, or any kind of situations. But just the compassionate part, I think, is the reason why people should vote for me. I'm very compassionate about running. This is my second time, so maybe the second time's a charm. But I've really enjoyed it. I've almost enjoyed it maybe a little too much, getting to meet people and talk to people. And I continue to keep wanting to meet more people and talk to more people. And it's been very exciting, been very fun to meet those folks.
Slider bonus question.
All right.
How did that first race influence how you're running now?
You know, it changed the way the mindset of how I looked at things, because I've never been in a political type situation, right? And then I put my name in the hat, and it was a little bit of a different race. It was a 1 against 1, right? Mm-hmm. So it was one of those things where there were some things being said, and I'm a very compassionate person, and that some of it hurt my feelings, but you got to take it on the chin and say, and be a bigger person, and just say, you know what? I'm doing this for the town. I'm doing this for my family. I want what's best for my family and what's best for the town, and then kind of go after that. And everything else is just lagniappe, right? You're gonna have things like that. You're gonna have situations that come up within the environmental side of things, or environment of the way the politics works, and you just got to take it and run with it. But I'm very excited to be running. I'm very excited to have my name in there with the other 9 folks. I think it's a great group. And just the fact that you have 10 people wanting to step up and do the right thing and become more involved with the town, it's exciting to me.
So again, Mr. Robert Stewart, one of 10 running for 5 seats on the Board of Aldermen in the town of Livingston. If you think he doesn't want the seat, he is compassionate about it, and he took it on the chin last year and is running again. So obviously he wants the job. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you taking the time today.
Thank you.
And one last time, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us for the Livingston Parish News Weekly Show. Want to remind folks that we are on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays at $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. We're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We have a podcast page where you can find these shows, audio and video versions, and they are free. We do please ask that you exercise your right to vote, especially coming up this fall. It's going to be a big ballot no matter where you are in Livingston Parish, but especially in the town of Livingston. Lots of sort of a turning point in the town of Livingston. Lots of people running for the board, mayor, and chief of police also up for election. We do hope you all have a great day. Please remember, if you're not registered to vote for this fall, get registered for the spring. Get involved, or you can't complain. We appreciate your patronage. We will see you next time.